Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Syadato Atira binti Karunizam, metric number 273830. I will be presenting the summary of MFRS 119 Employee Benefits. MFRS 119 Employee Benefits is the standard that specifies the employee benefits, accounting and disclosure. Also, it obligates an entity to identify the liability when an employee has performed the service in exchange for payment of future employee benefits, and a cost incurred when the entity utilizes the economic benefit arise from service performed by an employee in exchange for employee benefits. Based on this standard, the cost for allocating employee benefits need to be calculated in the financial period when the employee gain the benefits, not when the benefits are paid to them. The employee benefits that applied by MFRS 119 include those provided. The first one through formal plans or formal agreements among the entity, an individual or group of employees or their representative. Secondly, is through legislative requirements or industry arrangements that requires entities to contribute to national, state, industry or other multi-employer plans. Or the last one through informal practices that provide rise to a constructive obligation when the entity has no realistic alternative except for paying employee benefits. The employee benefits consist of short-term employee benefits such as wages and salaries, and long-term employee benefits such as long service leave. Next one is post-employment benefits such as pension and other retirement benefits, and lastly, termination benefits. All of these benefits will be received by the employee itself or their beneficiaries. Employee benefits may be through payments or the allocation of goods or services that done directly to the employees or their beneficiaries or others like insurance companies. These benefits will be received by the employees whether they are providing the services on a full-time or part-time basis to an entity. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum Dr. and fellow friends. I'm Nur Afifah Najwa binti Muhammad Azhar with metric number 273804. We'll continue this presentation with theories of development of MFRS 119. The first theory is normative theory. In this theory, it specifies how the specific practice should be carried out and what should be. It is to explain what accounting information should be disclosed and how it should be presented. In MFRS 119, it recognizes the benefit received by the employees as liability. When the employer consumes service provided by the employees and economic benefit arising, it is an expense. Thus, it fulfills the conceptual framework of matching principle. This information should be disclosed in statement of net assets available. The second theory is positive theory. It is aimed to close the gap in normative theory, hence explain the observed accounting practice that predict the situation, either it occurs or expected to be occurs. The goal of this theory is to explain and forecast the outcomes of managerial decision. In MFRS 119, defined benefit plans involve actuarial assumption. The liability is the PV of DBP less FV. Includes the actuarial gain or loss and historical service expenses. To calculate FV, independent actuaries use estimated unit credit approach. For PV, it uses estimated future cash flows, that is, interest rates of high-quality corporate bonds. All of this information is disclosed under equity in other comprehensive income. The third and last theory is regulatory theory. There are three theories under this theory, which are public interest theory, capture theory, and private interest group theory. In MFRS 119, it emphasizes on public interest theory that is required to address the public demand for inefficient market. Consequently, legislation is enacted in response to the crisis. As stipulated in Employee Act 1995 and Malaysia Labour Law, it is mandatory requirement for employers to offer benefits to the employees such as maternity leaves, sick leave, annual leave, parking allowance, and many more. There are also mandatory deduction in tax competition like Employment Provident Fund, EPF, and Social Security Organization, SOCSO. Employer must state the amount when hiring as stipulated by the law. With that, my presentation ends. Thank you very much for listening. I'll pass this presentation to my next teammate. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Suraya Binti Ismail, my tweet number 273423, and I will explain on the main parties involved in development of MFRS 119 employee benefits. So basically, as we know, that whenever there is a new standard that want to be adopted in Malaysia, MASB, which is Malaysian Accounting Standard Board, is the one that have the power to issue the standard. So the same goes to the MFRS 119 employee benefits. MASB is the only party that have the power to issue it. There is no other external body or parties that involved because the content of this standard basically derived from IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standard. MASB issued this standard on 2011, and it has stated that effective date would be start on 1st January 2012 yearly period. What can be referred in this standard are the short-term employee benefits on how to recognize and measure it, post-employment benefits that are divided into two parts, which are defined contribution plans and defined benefit plans. There are lots of content on that part that can be seen on the standard, because most of the part in the standard is talking about that part. Plus, the standard also mentioned on the other long-term employee benefits and termination benefits. So basically, user can completely refer to this standard on any inquiries related to employee benefits.
Hi, I'm Atira Binti Azmi, matric number 273746. I will explain about basis used to verify the standard of MFRS 119. Before we determine the verification basis of MFRS 119, let me explain in general about the theory verification basis. There are three bases for theory verification, which is dogmatic, self-evident, and scientific basis. Dogmatic basis is about we believe what we read because it was made by an authority. Next, self-evident basis is we deem a statement is reasonable based on our knowledge, experience, and observation. Scientific basis is we verify through research, experimentation, and testing. Now that we had understand what is the theory verification basis, we can determine that MFRS 119 is based on dogmatic theory. Why I say so? Because according to JHAT 2021, accounting standard setter will tend to fall into dogmatism in theory of valuation of financial economy. Employee benefits began to rise in the year of 1900 due to Industrial Revolution. Employer came up with strategy to attract employee in order to fill in the workforce needed. From this, the government, which is the Congress, had created various types of employees benefits that vary from monetary to non-monetary benefits. For example, United States Congress had created health benefit for employee in 1959. Due to this, accounting body and accounting standard setter create IAS 19 employee benefit as to guide the employer regarding this matter. Thus, IAS 19 were made based on what the standard setter believe on the situation and statement made by an authority, which is the Congress. So we can say that the MFRS 119 used dogmatic as a basis of its theory verification since it was in accordance with IAS 19. Next, we move on to nature of the standard of MFRS 119. Before we determine whether MFRS 119 is rules basis or principle basis, I would like to explain a little bit about this base. Financial Accounting Standard Board (FASB) have the nature of rule-based, while International Accounting Standard Board (IASB) issue standards that were principle-based. The main characteristic of rule-based standards are that they can be a little complex and inflexible, as the standard tend to cover as many circumstances as possible. Hence, rule-based accounting standards offer a comprehensive and detailed procedure on how to record specific attributes in various transactions and events. For example, the General Accepted Accounting Principle, which is the GAAP. Meanwhile, the principle-based standard would create in a form of general principle that need to be adhered by the companies. Principle-based accounting standards have the nature that were less complex and more to brief and comprehensive guideline. Thus, the principle-based can be reformed according to a company's preferences or incorporated into the conceptual framework, as long as it is in accordance with the general principles. So now we get the nature of the standard on the surface. Can we identify the nature of MFRS 119? Based on what I had explained, we can comprehend that the MFRS 119 is a principle-based accounting standard. Why? According to DIGAN 2014, the adoption of International Financial Reporting Standard (IFRS) had introduced financial reporting process to principle-based accounting standard, and we know that MFRS 119 is based on IFRS. Besides, we can see that all the guidelines in MFRS 119 related to employee benefit will state in general principle instead of in explicit and rigid details. For example, in the MFRS 119, it has employee benefit in terms of non-monetary benefit, such as medical care, housing, cars, and free goods or service. This benefit can be decided by the company on which they want to provide and how much they want to provide the benefit to the employee. Hence, MFRS 119 is principle-based.
Hi, my name is Nurhanis binti Mat Ranzi. My bantik number is 273482. I'm going to proceed the presentation with the limitations of MFRS 119. There are three limitations. The first one is complicated and complexity. The second one, no standardization in the actuarial term. And the third one is lots of assumptions. We move to the first one. Why is it complicated? Fundamental reason of the complexity to the MFRS 119 is that corporations must reconcile the plan related to the assets and liabilities in the financial statements by reporting the totally present value of the unfunded defunct obligations, fair value of the plan assets, and the net actuarial gain or loss. More to the added to the complexity of the MFRS 119 is that it also has an impact, which is there are more than just individual decisions. It also has an impact on the working environment, such as managerial labor market when it comes to the affection decisions, as we know that employee benefits is not mandatory for the organizations to give it to their staff. Why is it not standardized? Because there are many types of methods are employed in the market, such as projected service liability and projected unit credit. This will make the regular financial statement users will be very confused. MFRS 119 only allow the accumulated benefit technique to measure the commitments and costs to estimate the discount rate using market yields. The assumptions used to estimate the employee benefit must be disclosed in detail. This involves in calculating the deficit or surplus that requires the organizations to calculate the assumptions about demographic and financial variables that would impact on the cost of benefit. Some of the actuarial assumptions are mortality, discount rate, salary, benefits, and medical costs. Next, we move to the suggestions to overcome the limitations. The first one is training. Accountants should collaborate with the professional organizations to highlight their training requirement, as we know that the board of directors plays a vital role in the full compliances with MFRS 119, so the board members should obtain training too. So the second one is the standardizations. MASBs should standardize the actuarial terms used in the financial statement to avoid reader confusion. So the associated entities should amend their MFRS 119 in terms of wording to avoid the misinterpretation by the users, as it is intended to be a guidance to the employment benefits. The third one is awareness. Accountants must work ethically, so they must always work with honesty and be self-sufficient when it comes to placing the interests of the employees ahead of their own. So the fourth one is consideration. Due to the current COVID-19 outbreak, the management may be considering decreasing its workforce. So the company should consider of the current situation in adjusting the employee benefits. MFRS 119 requires a detailed disclosure of the assumptions used to estimate the employee benefits liabilities as well as their sensitivity and modifications. So that's all from us. Thank you.